Welcome everybody back to the episode 4 of Whose Show Is It Anyways? With us this week, we have a very special guest because we don't have two guests, because we don't have any anomalies this time. First week without any anomalies.
Yeah.
From the Smoking Pot Moms, we have Ashley.
Hello.
Hi. And from Off the Rails with Tone and Jems, we have me, Jems. This should be exciting. We have 90s TV shows, which I was alive for almost all of the 90s.
Yes. All but 30 days, you said?
Yep. I was born in January of 1990. But I remember watching TV and, like, obviously with Netflix and Hulu and all that shit now, I've seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I was alive for all of the 90s. I was born in 84. So I got to see it all.
You were just a pup at the beginning of the 90s, though. So, like,
I was.
I would like to think our shows would maybe be similar then. I don't know.
I'm going to be really interested to see, because you're like my younger brother's age. So if I didn't watch it, I bet that one of them did. So.
Well, I think during the 90s, my favorite show was probably the Power Rangers.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yes.
I had all the toys. Even though I was like 6, the Pink Power Ranger was my favorite. Amy Jo Johnson, still fantastic.
Wait, who's that?
She was the Pink Power Ranger. I think she was everybody's like first crush.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell much about what happened on the show anymore because I was little. I know there's been like 80,000 different formations of it and stuff.
That was so cheesy, wasn't it?
Mm.
We used to make fun of my brother because he would always try and sing the song in like a really like "Go Go Power Rangers." It was like the weirdest, nasaliest, and we would always rip on him for that.
Well, it was super cool when you were little, but then like I'm assuming my daughter's going to watch stuff where I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. But even so my oldest boys they just turned 12 in December, and like Power Rangers made a comeback. They had oh man, I want to say they were maybe in like kindergarten, first grade, when Kale was like really into, he was like, Mom, I want all the Power Rangers toys. So I got to go through it twice. I feel
lucky you.
Yeah.
The guy that started Power Rangers I met at the Columbia outlet at the Lighthouse Mall where I was working at the time in Michigan City, Indiana. He started, I guess he was like part of the group that started the Power Rangers and the Ninja Turtles. I was just talking to him. I was talking to a guy just like normal. And somehow it came up. I guess if you do something cool like that and you kind of have a little bit of an ego, you will bring it up to anybody who will listen. Absolutely. I guess he lives in like up there on Lake Michigan, right by us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Ninja Turtles was my jam. Who was I talking? I think I was talking to Claire on our last episode that we recorded, and we were talking about Ninja Turtles and how I used to. Well, Raphael was my boyfriend, the red one. I guess my first crush was on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Nice.
And I remember running around. My backyard was all fenced in, and there was like, it looked like it should have been like a stone, like waterfall type thing, but it wasn't. But that was like my favorite play area, and I would play Ninja Turtles, and I was like running off of that stone thing and flipping, and that was my favorite thing to do.
I was hoping you were going to say there was like a manhole cover in the backyard that you used to pick up and go down in.
That would have been cool.
Or behind the waterfall, there was a giant rat that you used to talk to.
Oh, that maybe not as cool. Not as cool. Thinking about like the 2 shows that we've mentioned already, they've both come back. I mean, my boys were into Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers.
I think they both, well, I mean, Power Rangers is pretty corny, but I think the Ninja Turtles are pretty ageless. And then they have they had a movie in 2014 with the Ninja Turtles. So
they had 2. I think they had 2 with Megan Fox.
Yeah, they also had I got the IMDb up for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They had the original, I think, came out in 1990, and then there was a movie in 2014, and then a couple series in like 2012 and 2016. There's a ton. Well, I guess actually the original came out in 1987. but it ran through 96.
Yeah.
So as a kid, you said the Ninja Turtles were your favorite. What was like the heart of the 90s? What was your best show?
I was a big, do you remember T.G.I.F?
Yeah.
So I was a big kind of T.G.I.F girl. I mean, Full House was, I think I've seen every episode of Full House. I watched a lot of Family Matters.
Do you watch Hallmark Channel now, like during Christmas time?
Never.
So Candace Cameron Bure is on every single. My wife watches a shit ton of Hallmark movies, and she is on every single Christmas movie.
Yeah, yeah. I never got into the Hallmark Christmas movies, but I do. I mean, that seems familiar that she has been on a lot of them.
They're all exactly the same. So
I'm sure they are. Mm-hmm.
I watched probably a decent amount of Full House. I think my favorite part about it was like seeing Bob Saget stand up afterwards and realizing he is the opposite of Danny Tanner.
He's like gross.
It's really, I mean, I find it really funny, but
I mean, yeah, but I mean,
shocking.
Very, very. I can't think of the word I want to use, but like foul, like definitely not Danny Tanner.
Yeah. So I wonder how many like parents were like, "Oh, Bob Saget's coming to the comedy club. Let's take our kids."
Well, do you remember him on America's Funniest Home Videos?
Yeah.
That was like the heart of the 90s, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so. And then I think it was after the 90s, but the next host was Carlton from The Fresh Prince. He was maybe two hosts later. I think there was another one in between, but they must just like the big, huge 90s shows.
Yes. So Fresh Prince, I mean, do you want to do the rap?
I might. I don't think I can. 6 hours later, I bet I could do it today. But
yeah.
Up for 14 minutes.
You're still a little young for that one.
I've probably seen most of the episodes of Fresh Prince. I feel like that was the 90s show, that and Boy Meets World, that ran all the time.
Yeah. Boy Meets World, actually, I wrote that one down. That one ran from 93 to 2000.
Well, it's because they were like Saved by the Bell, and at the end they had like the college years.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever watched Boy Meets World college years, but I do think I've seen every episode of Saved by the Bell.
I don't know if Boy Meets World was a separate, like how Saved by the Bell the college years was. I think it was just they went to college, but
okay, because the college years of Saved by the Bell was not near as good.
I think Full House. We talked about Full House that has a remake or whatever. Yeah. Fuller House. Did you watch that?
I did. My daughter is obsessed with it.
My wife watched it too, like as soon as it came out. And then I think Fresh Prince is doing a reboot.
Oh, really?
And I'm pretty sure Saved by the Bell has something either out or almost out now.
Oh, I hadn't heard. So with Fresh Prince, will they have like the original? Is Will Smith coming back for that?
Yeah, I think so. Unless it was just like a reunion episode or something. But when I was looking up stuff last night, they showed like the whole cast together in the set.
Interesting. I have not.
Saved by the Bell is actually out on Peacock.
Okay. What is Peacock?
It's like NBC's free in quote streaming service. You get like one episode of stuff, or certain stuff's free, but then you got to pay for other things.
Yeah.
I assume Saved by the Bell is something you have to pay for.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like going back to TGIF, I was going through those shows this morning, and I kind of feel like that's like the old version of Netflix and chill now, right? You know, everybody would kind of gather on Friday nights with their families and watch all the TGIF, which I thought stood for Thank God It's Friday. Makes sense. But did you know it was actually Thank Goodness It's Funny?
Really? I thought it was Thank God It's Friday.
Yeah.
It made sense.
Yeah.
What you said Full House. What else was on TGIF? Was it like Step by Step and Family Matters?
Family Matters, Full House. Gosh, in the later years, there was like Sister with Tia and
Do you know that show was started on Full House's set?
Well, because their brother was on it, right?
Was he on Full House?
Yeah, he was Stephanie's friend. Oh my goodness, what was his name? He was so cute.
Was he smart? Was he the smart guy then?
No, because the smart guy, remember she married in her backyard, and he made an appearance on Fuller House. But
Really?
the Maori boy, oh my goodness, what was his name on Full House? I can't remember. But yeah, that does make sense that Sister Sister started from that.
Yeah, the little bit I read about it was that they saw them in the crowd or something, and somehow it didn't say that their brother was on the show, but that would make sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Who played Teddy?
Teddy. Yes, it was Teddy. Yeah.
The Maoris like dominated part of the 90s. I mean, or might have even been early 2000s because they had Sister Sister, which ran for quite a long time, I think, and then Smart Guy.
Oh, I didn't watch Smart Guy.
I watched that one. That one only ran for like 51 episodes, but I thought it was good as a young lad.
Did you watch Sister Sister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what channel these shows were on. I just want to say TBS because I feel like that's where all the reruns were.
So T.G.I.F was run on ABC.
Right. So Sister Sister and like Smart Guy and stuff were TGIF shows?
I don't know about Smart Guy. I'm not sure. I know Sister Sister was part of the later lineup of TGIF. So I don't know if Smart Guy just kind of came in after TGIF fell away. Maybe.
I wonder when TGIF died.
I think it was the year 2000 is what I read.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So there weren't very many shows that were still running from it. Like Boy Meets World, I think, was one of the longest running ones.
That makes sense. I always like now they kind of market Boy Meets World as like a kid show, or they probably market to like people in their mid-20s because of who watched it growing up.
Yeah.
But I guess showing it on like primetime television on Friday nights, it wasn't like focused towards 17-year-old kids, 15-year-old kids.
Yeah, probably not. Okay, so what about the early 90s shows? Do you remember Rescue 911?
I do not.
You don't remember that? That was like a staple at our house. So my stepdad that was on Friday nights, and my stepdad was a fireman, so he would work 24 on, 48 off. And every Friday that he was at the firehouse, we would because he was kind of grouchy, so we always joked that we would celebrate on the nights that he was gone. And my mom and my brothers and I would make a big deal and like order pizza and have popcorn, and we would watch Rescue 911 and Rugrats and Doug on Nickelodeon.
So I didn't have Nickelodeon until I was probably 12. So I missed out on like Rugrats a little bit. I'd watch it every now and then if I was like at my grandparents and stuff. But Doug was another one. Sometimes they'd have reruns and stuff on that I'd watch. Rocket Power was the show I liked on Nickelodeon back in the day.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. SpongeBob, are you SpongeBob guy?
Yeah, SpongeBob was started right around good time for me.
That is one of those that I can watch as an adult that I think it's stupid, but I think that there was a lot that went over the kids' heads that you didn't even realize in that show.
Yeah, there's a lot like watching like my daughter's shows now, and I'm like, there's no way a kid gets this.
Yeah.
I think that if I was a writer and I could like squeeze stuff in, like maybe like a semi-dirty joke and stuff, I probably would do it.
I think in some sense you have to appeal to the adults, don't you?
I would think so. I guess Disney does that crap all the time.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't have glossed over the fact when you were talking about Rescue 911 and that your stepdad was a firefighter. I'm a volunteer firefighter, but
oh, you are?
Yeah. I thought about it as soon as you said it, and then like it kept going, and I was like, oh, I should probably mention that.
Yeah.
The only firefighter show I watch right now is Tacoma FD with the Super Troopers guys. It's on True TV.
Oh my gosh.
But my wife watches like 911 or 911 Austin and the regular one.
Yeah. Is that show still on? Rescue 911 is still on?
No. This is like Fox's 911. It's like
one of the
biggest shows.
Okay.
But like that, the Tacoma FD is hilarious. The Super Troopers guys are so
Super Troopers is one of my all-time most favorite movies.
Same.
Yeah.
We could have done a Super Trooper episode. Somebody remember that for a topic next time.
Just keep throwing like their one-liners out there.
It's those guys have like, they're almost like the Impractical Jokers, because they have all like been together since like high school age, or I think it was college. They're all born in like 1969 or something.
Okay.
And they've done so much together. The Broken Lizard, they're just great.
Yes. Okay, so what about MTV?
Yeah, I was, so that would have been another thing I watched at like my grandparents' house up until we got MTV, but I can probably piece together some 90s MTV. We actually had, I don't know, we had Jim Shear on Off the Rails, who was a MTV VJ and a Group 1 VJ, but I don't know if he was in the 90s or if he was a little bit after that. He had to have been in the 90s.
I would say 90s.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, really? He was after the 90s.
Tone is an expert on Jim Shear. Like, okay. If there was a biopic made of him, Tone was the director for sure. But that would have been like Pauly Shore and stuff, right? Like 90s.
Pauly Shore. So Jenny McCarthy. I think the show was called Singled Out.
Is that game show?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so entertaining. I watched a lot of MTV. I feel like, I mean, all of the real world, I could never say that, real world.
Yeah, I watched
Road Rules, the challenges.
I feel like kids are missing out on that nowadays, like high school kids, because all they show is ridiculousness now. Because I'll flip on MTV to see, sometimes there's something like I binge watched Catfish a couple years ago. I just got, my wife got into it. But like, there's never anything good on there. I remember getting home off the bus, and this would have been in the 2000s, but whatever. And like Next and Room Raiders and all those shows were on. I assume they had similar shows like for you getting off the bus.
But they had better shows than that even. I remember watching MTV when it was actual music videos. One of the first videos I remember watching was Bone Thugs and Harmony's Crossroads.
So I remember them having music videos on frequently, like in the morning, like getting ready for school. I could turn on MTV and it was music videos, which was neat.
Yes. TRL was my big thing coming home after like getting off the bus. Total Request Live is what I originally called it, with Carson Daly.
Yep. That I think that I can look up when it started, but I think it was like mid to late 90s. And that was huge for everybody. If you got on TRL, it was a big deal.
Yes. Yeah.
What else was on MTV that you liked?
Oh, actual MTV shows. I mean, when we got it, I guess Punk'd, but that was in the 2000s, I think.
Yeah.
It was honestly, I mean, it was a lot of, Beavis and Butthead was on there. So they did have some shows. I never really got into Beavis and Butthead, and that was probably a little old for you, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I mean, I watched Beavis and Butthead a little. I have a brother who's 7.5 years older than me, so I got to watch a lot of stuff I probably wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
So like Beavis and Butthead, and I remember like Daria.
I could not get into that one.
Well, I mean, I was little, but I couldn't really get into it either. I'm trying to think of MTV shows that I would have been like, I can't really remember any from back then, but I remember watching Real World Road Rules.
Yes. I loved it. The Real World, especially. I was like just addicted to those shows. I loved them so much.
And mine would have been after that, but I was a Road Rules guy. But then I think they essentially just combined everything.
They did. They started making all the challenges. Yeah.
I would assume they still do that because that was probably a big thing for them, but I feel like all TV networks have kind of gone to shit since like the 90s and 2000s.
I'm trying to think.
I'm just getting old and crotchety.
Yes. I can't think of, I mean, besides like shows, HGTV has obviously gotten really big right now. And then things like The Bachelor. But what else do people watch on actual TV now?
Bluey.
What?
Bluey, Puppy Dog Pals.
Yes. Oh, man. Yeah.
Do you have kids that are still the age to watch like the smaller kid shows? Or
Braxton is going to be 4 in June.
Okay, so my daughter is 4,
Okay.
and she learned how to use the remote, so she can turn Netflix and stuff on. But Bluey is by far the best kids TV show I think out there right now.
He never got into that. He watches like old stuff, like Team Umizoomi, which is from when my oldest were younger. He watches that on repeat, and this movie called Sharkboy and Lavagirl.
Yeah, I've heard of those. I never watched either of them.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest, and so I don't know. If I was watching those shows when they were out, I probably shouldn't have been, or I might be a little more strange than I am now.
Embarrassed to say. Yeah, no, I don't get the privilege of watching things like Bluey.
The cartoons I guess I watched as a kid was like Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones and stuff, because those are what my parents would turn on for me. So
would you remember Inspector Gadget?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that. And Smurfs. Those were some of my favorites.
Yeah, I try to turn on Boomerang now, and I'll be like, oh, Scooby-Doo's on. I'll get Claire into Scooby-Doo. But then it's like the new remake of Scooby-Doo, and I don't like it. It's bad. It's just not the same.
Yeah. Braxton is really into Scooby-Doo and Tom and Jerry. And the voices on Scooby-Doo get me now. I'm like, that is not what Shaggy sounds like.
And I thought Casey Kasem was still alive. I think he does Shaggy's voice. So
no, he passed away several years ago, I think.
Did he?
Yeah.
It's probably just because like the Sunday morning countdown still plays his voice. So I was like, oh, he's still alive.
Really?
Yeah. It's America's Top 40 or whatever.
Casey Kasem, that is super 90s. Yeah.
So Tone texted me right after we got selected. He's like, who's your favorite 90s character? And I was like, I initially said, I was like, well, I'm counting The Simpsons as a 90s show because they ran through the entire decade, but they also ran through the 2000s, the 2010s, so probably run through the 2020s. Mm-hmm. I was like, I love Homer. I love The Simpsons. The Simpsons is probably my favorite show of all time. It probably taught me the most from any show I've watched. Like, people think it's dumb, but like, it's probably one of the smartest shows out there.
Yeah, we used to watch The Simpsons a lot when I was younger, and then it kind of died off it died off for me once I got into like junior high school, but now my kids got back into it and they're like, Mom, did you know all this stuff that like The Simpsons predicted? And like, they're real into that stuff now. So
yeah, it's awesome. I probably dropped out from watching it weekly when I turned probably like 16. I feel like that's when my TV watching went to shit, is when I learned when I could drive and like leave the house.
Oh, yeah.
But I think up until that point, I've probably seen every episode. So I'll turn it on now, and every once in a while I'll catch something new, but most of them I've seen.
Yeah, it's funny. Go ahead.
Oh, but when like in that conversation with Tone, I was like, maybe not The Simpsons. I said I loved watching like recently, but I remember watching it as a kid, even though it definitely shouldn't have been. Was Married with Children, and I thought Al Bundy was hilarious. Like that show, I think the thing that drew it to me was they were in Chicago, and I'm like an hour from Chicago, so I was like, oh, they're really close. But
did you go see the fountain at the beginning? You're like, that's
yeah. So they show that at 4 o'clock in the morning on like TBS or something. So we lived with my in-laws for about 14 months. And so I would get up for work as my father-in-law was leaving. So he would always have the TV on and just leave it on. So then I'd sit there and watch an hour of Married with Children before I go to work. So it got me back and seeing a shit ton of those episodes, but it's so funny. I know it wouldn't work nowadays.
Yeah, oh my gosh. No. And Roseanne, did you ever watch Roseanne?
I remember watching it a little bit, and we watched season 1 of the reboot, and but I haven't watched any more of it.
Yeah, I forgot that they did a reboot. But that is something we watched a lot in my house, was Roseanne. That's another one that they could never run nowadays.
Yeah, well, they do. It's just, I'm sure it's way, way different than it was. Like The Office doesn't even like probably work nowadays. A lot of the stuff, if you rewatch The Office or watch it if you haven't seen it, doesn't like you probably can't get away with saying that.
Yeah.
Which is sad. I hope kind of TV gets dirty again.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you say is the most underrated show of the 90s for you?
Underrated? I feel like they rated the 90s TV shows pretty good. Like they, geez. Well, if you have one, why don't you go and I'll try to think of
Okay,
one.
so I was actually, and this goes back to MTV when I forgot to mention, I watched this show with Claire Danes and Jared Leto. It was called My So-Called Life. I loved it. And it only ran for one season, but it was like, they were in high school and it just kind of followed the high school drama. And I was way too young to be watching it. I mean, I had to have been like 7 maybe, but I feel like I was also raised on shows that were way too old for me. But I would go with My So-Called Life. I think that that is definitely something that would have a solid running nowadays, I think.
Yeah, that's pre me. Well, not necessarily pre me, but I don't remember that one. I've heard of it because I went down a Jared Leto rabbit hole one night for some reason. But
where does the Jared Leto rabbit hole lead you?
Well, so I do this thing where if I'm watching a movie or something, I'll look up a character, or if I hear a song, and then I'll look them up. And so, like, Jared Leto is the lead singer of 30 Seconds to Mars. And so I'll go to IMDb, and then I'll Google, or I'll go to trivia, and I just read deep. So, like, I find out stuff about people, and there's a lot. I don't know. That's just how I find out dumb stuff.
Okay.
That's how Tone and I get along pretty well, because he's just a wealth of
useless knowledge.
It's all pretty useless. Some of it's useful, but it's rare.
Yeah, my husband would fit in well. He knows the most random facts about nothing.
So My So-Called Life was a 15-year-old girl and her trials and tribulations of being a teenager and dealing with friends, guys, parents, and school.
Yeah.
Jordan Catalano was Jared Leto.
Jordan Catalano.
Fantastic name.
Jared Leto's character. And then what was Claire Danes? Does it say what was her name?
Claire Danes was Angela Chase.
Angela. I kept wanting to say Anna.
You were close.
Yes.
I don't know if I have an underrated show from the 90s. Like, for the longest time until I actually watched it with my wife, I used to think Friends was overrated. I mean, I think it probably is overrated, but it's not a bad show. Like, I didn't hate it.
Friends would be my most overrated show from the 90s.
It's probably a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, I could sit down and watch it, but it was never like Claire is a huge Friends fanatic, and it's kind of trendy right now to be really into Friends, but I'm not saying that's why she was. But
so Claire, trendy. I'll remember that.
Claire and trendy. She just follows all the trends. Yeah.
Have you watched a lot of Friends episodes?
I wouldn't say a lot. I've seen a fair amount, and I remember my stepmom was really into it, so I remember especially like the final season. But it was, I don't know, thinking Ross really annoyed me.
He was the worst character on the show by far.
For sure. I mean, I could sit down and laugh, but it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, my favorite character on there was Chandler. I just thought his wit and stuff was hilarious.
But
it lasted for a long time, and they made so much money on that show. Like, even like back then, they were making like $1 million an episode.
Yeah, and I think they're still making a ton of money off that show.
Yeah, like the residuals from these 90 shows that had like 200 episodes that's awesome. Like Home Improvement ran a lot of episodes, and I read that I loved Home Improvement.
Taylor Thomas.
I read something that Tim Allen turned down like $50 million for the last. I read this in one source, so who knows if it's verified or not. For making a final season, Patricia Richardson turned down $25 million to make a final season.
Interesting.
But it probably would have dragged out. Like, the boys were all old at that point, and like Jonathan Taylor Thomas was in like Africa or something on a mission trip, I think. And
where is he now?
He pops up on Last Man Standing every now and then.
Does he really?
Yeah, he's been on a couple episodes.
Okay.
Some of those guys will pop on, like Patricia Richardson. Jill has been on a few times.
Okay. But for the most part, kind of out of the spotlight.
Yeah, I think really, I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but it seems like Tim Allen is the only one that still does stuff.
What was Al's name?
Richard Kern?
Yeah, he
Kern?
still does things every now and then. I
Hey,
just
well,
did something recently and I can't remember what it was.
him and Tim Allen are doing something with the show on History Channel with a competition where people like put shit together. I assume they're all building IKEA furniture, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But he hosted the Family Feud for quite a while too.
Oh, he did. He was in a movie recently and I cannot remember.
Richard Karn was? Kern?
Yeah.
I should look up the pronunciation of his name so I'm not stupid. It's Karn.
Karn. I'm going to have to look this up because it's going to drive me nuts.
Horse Camp, A Love Tale?
No. Maybe it wasn't a recent movie. I just remember watching something recently. And
did you watch Pen 15? It was like a Netflix show. He was in that.
Yes. Yes, that's what it was. Yes.
I never watched it, but that was the first thing that popped up for recent stuff on IMDb.
That show is definitely cringy. Pen 15.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it cringe, like funny cringy, or is it just like
make you cringy, but like sometimes uncomfortable cringy? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
These two girls that are adult women playing like 13-year-old girls, and it just kind of takes you back to that super, super awkward middle school, junior high age. And there are some really, really hilarious and cringy moments in that. And I think it makes it even cringier because they're adult women.
Right. Yeah, that sounds cringeworthy. Do you get like embarrassed for characters? Like, I'm bad about like watching a show and then like stuff happens, like making faces.
Yeah. I get embarrassed for people in general, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe that means you're nice. I don't know. If you get embarrassed for others, you have empathy.
I would hope people say I was nice. Yeah. We'll go with that.
I can be embarrassed for people, but I'm also bad about like embarrassing people. Like my poor wife. She's been mad at me for, I don't know, 8 years because we went on a sledding trip to just up in Michigan. Like her family was in town, so we went sledding on, I don't even remember the place, but she picked up a snowball and she was trying to throw it at me, and like in the process of throwing it, she just fell, and I just pointed and called her out in front of everybody and laughed. I was like, "Look, she fell," and she was like, "That was incredibly embarrassing." And now I feel bad about it, but like for the longest time, I didn't get it. But
yeah,
being in front of a ton of people and my wife's a saint.
A little more reserved.
Yeah, I've done things to her in Walmart too that were embarrassing.
Are you impulsive?
Like where stuff will just like come out of my mouth without thinking. Yeah, I have a safety shirt from work that says "Take two and think it through."
Okay.
So she tried to make me apply that to me talking.
I'm definitely impulsive too. I have like a lot of foot and mouth moments.
Yeah. I'll just start going and not think about it. Most of the time it works out pretty well. I like to think I'm pretty quick-witted and minded and stuff where I can stop myself, but sometimes it just comes out. That's why like starting the podcast has been a good platform for me to say dumb things.
Yeah.
But I'll still get, like, because I do this in the basement and my wife will either be watching TV or like in the bedroom upstairs when it's going on, and she will text me or call me out on stuff I'm saying on there because she hears me through the floorboard.
Oh, that's really funny.
It was like episode 1 and Tone asked how me and my wife met, and I gave the spew about it, and she's like, "Don't forget to tell him you went home with a different girl first."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that was in like real time, and Tone was like dying.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Matt has to often tell me, like, Ashley, if you're gonna word things, you're a little brash when you say something, so you need to definitely think about what you're saying before you say it.
That's not too bad. I guess people are soft. I don't know.
How did we get on this subject? I forgot what we were even talking about.
Well, the name of my other podcast is called Off the Rails for this very reason, because we'll just start rambling on about stuff. Tone did say in the chat here that Jonathan Taylor Thomas' last thing was he directed 3 episodes of Last Man Standing.
Okay, I'm going to sound really, really stupid, but what is Last Man Standing?
Tim Allen's TV show that's been on for like 9 years.
Okay. Clearly, I watch a lot of TV.
Yeah. What do you watch now? Like, what's a show?
What is something I watch on TV right now? I don't think there's anything I watch. I mean, I'll watch like Netflix, or I'll pick some shows off. Actually, one thing that we're watching right now is WandaVision on Disney.
Good?
So good. It is so good. Are you into Marvel?
I've seen like 2/3 of Iron Man. So okay, let me rephrase that. I've seen 2 of the 3 Iron Men.
Okay.
And then I've watched both Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know if Deadpool is Marvel or not, but I've seen those.
But it's not in it doesn't play into.
I don't think so. I just like Ryan Reynolds a lot, and I think he's hilarious.
Ryan Reynolds, yeah. Well, Matt has made me into a huge I'm not a Marvel nerd like he is, but I enjoy it so much more than I ever thought that I would. So Friday nights we order pizza and watch WandaVision, and there's only 1 episode left, and I'm kind of having a hard time with it.
Is it just season 1? Will there be like a season 2, 3?
I don't think there will be a season 2. From what Matt tells me, it will play into like the new Doctor Strange. So it's interesting to watch how they all fall into place with each other. But Matt knows a lot of like the backstories, and
You're like a comic book reader guy.
He read some comics when he was younger. I think now, I mean, like I said, he's kind of a pool of useless information, and he really likes researching that stuff, looking things up.
I know how that goes.
Yeah.
So is WandaVision like the previews? I feel like it's like Leave It to Beaver, but with a robot or something.
Okay, so Vision is kind of like a robot.
Okay.
Not a robot, but kind of like a robot. So I watched the very first episode. I sat down and I had no idea what it was going to be. I didn't watch any of the trailers or previews going into it. So it was a lot like Leave It to Beaver. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Can I say that on here?
Yeah. Yeah, you can say whatever you want, I guess.
With Tyler, so yes, I can.
Oh, gosh, I was laughing. I had to turn my computer down because my kids were still awake.
Yeah, that was a lot of fucks.
It was he used it as an article acronym. Anything he could use it for, it was like just a space holder.
Yeah. Okay, so I was so confused, and I kept looking at Matt, and I was like, this is not what I signed up for. When is this going to change? And he's like, just be patient, just be patient. And it's really interesting because each episode kind of goes into a new era with them until the story starts unfolding a little bit more. It's really, I would highly recommend it.
Maybe I'll check it out tonight. We have Disney Plus, so I got 2 more midnights at work, and I'm working the job where I have a lot of downtime. So
okay.
Richie recommended watching My Octopus Teacher, and I turned on like 5 minutes of it, and I was like, I think I could really get into this, but like if I can catch one of these bids at work where I'm not operating heavy equipment and I can go get some edibles and then watch it, I said that's going to be the ticket. Yeah.
So what is the premise of that show?
Reading about it, it was this dude, like this is like real life, like it's like a documentary, I think. This dude befriends a octopus and learns a lot from it. The opening sequence is he's like scuba diving, and I was like, all right, I need to be high for this.
I think that would be a really good show to watch high.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when I could do stuff, watching Planet Earth high was awesome.
I mean, this guy's got to be high if he goes and befriends an octopus, right?
I would think so. Like, definitely. Or the weirdest motherfucker I've ever like seen.
Makes for interesting television, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe somewhat weird.
I'm trying to think of any other like 90s shows. I guess you could count wrestling as a 90s show. Wrestling was huge in the late 90s. I don't know if you ever got into wrestling, but I was big into wrestling like in the late 90s with the Attitude Era and like Stone Cold, The Rock, and stuff like that.
So I was just before that with like Shawn Michaels, Bret the Hitman Hart. Well, the Undertaker is he still a thing?
Yeah, he might wrestle like once a year at like WrestleMania, I guess. I like loosely follow it. Like I'll read about stuff or watch like YouTube videos sometimes, but
yeah.
Shawn Michaels, I think is. Go ahead.
I was going to say I watched it when it was WWF.
For the first portion of my wrestling watching life, it was WWF for a few years, and then switched to WWE. I don't remember if they really announced that it changed. It just like changed one day on TV, and I was like, what happened?
Well, didn't there used to be two wrestling? There was like WWF and then another one.
The WCW. They had the Monday Night Wars, which was like this huge thing in the 90s. Like I think 1996, Kevin Nash, who was Diesel when you watch wrestling maybe, and then Scott Hall, who was Razor Ramon, and Hulk Hogan went over from WWF to WCW, and like their ratings like skyrocketed, and they had the NWO, and a ton of people were over there, and it was super good. And the WWF was still like hokey, and then like Stone Cold came along, and they started battling for ratings, and it was like Stone Cold and Goldberg, and then they like finally WWF overtook WCW and bought it for like super cheap. But yeah, they competed for like most of the 90s. Okay. There's your wrestling history.
Yes. Now that I'm up to date on that.
Yeah. A lot of people would jump back and forth. It was probably good for business, like wrestling wise, like they could get more money one place or the other. Yeah.
My youngest, who is 3.5, is a real big John Cena fan.
Well, he's in a lot of kids' movies, isn't he?
He is, except if you tell Braxton that that's John Cena in a movie, so Braxton is obsessed with the Bumblebee movie, and John Cena is in that, and we're like, Braxy, that's John Cena, and he's like, no, it's not. So he only wants to hear his songs. He wants Alexa to play the "You Can't See Me" rap over and over and over again.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of that I've seen John Cena in, and I cannot remember the movie of it, but they make him butt chug. It might be like Neighbors or something.
Oh, what is that? That's Cock Blockers.
Blockers, yeah, Cock Blockers, very good. Did you come up with that before it popped up in the chat?
I did. Yes, it just came to me. Yes. Is it just called Blockers, or is it actually called Cock Blockers?
Well, they put the chicken in front of it, or the rooster in front of it, so I believe it's called Cock Blockers. That was a good movie. That was
a good movie. I just watched that not too long. It was during shutdown that I watched it.
What did I watch during shutdown? Did we binge watch anything? I can't.
Tiger King.
Oh, yeah, definitely Tiger King. We did that right at the beginning.
Yeah. What was another one?
Did you see that he had like a limo rented, like when Trump would pardon people, like the very last day of his presidency? He was like, he had a limo rented. He was ready to go. He thought for sure he was getting this pardon, and it never came.
Oh, darn.
Poor Joe Exotic.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that. What were some more shutdown binges? What was there was a cheesy love one. What was that called?
A cheesy love one?
Yeah, that was on Netflix. It was like a game show.
I definitely did not watch that.
You didn't watch that?
Mm-mm.
I feel like Tone has an idea of what I'm talking about.
Love Island?
No, that wasn't it. I don't know. I don't know. I've never heard of Love Island.
Neither have I. I'm sure it's a thing.
I think it's
our astute producer wouldn't steer us in the wrong direction. I guess we've missed a couple things that he's thrown in here, like the WWF turned to the WWE when the World Wildlife Foundation sued them. I knew that, but stupid Wildlife Foundation.
Yeah.
What else?
I'm trying to think of what else I took. I mean, I kind of did take a few notes, but I don't think Love is Blind. That was it. That was the name of the cheesy love thing that I watched.
Look at him go. Look at how good he is. Also I'm hoping for this episode is that it meets Marco's approval. That's how I tend to live my life. Oh. You can say hi, Claire.
Hi.
What's your favorite TV show?
On Netflix?
It doesn't have to be on Netflix. It can be in any. What's your favorite show you watch?
Care Bears.
Care Bears? Apparently she's on Care Bears now.
Oh, that's my girl. I love Care Bears.
Well, now that she can do the Netflix remote, we got like a smarter TV where just you can hit the Netflix button and she can scroll. So she'll switch shows up all the time.
Yeah. Care Bears is a solid choice. It's a good one.
That was probably on in the 90s, wasn't it?
I think it was a little more 80s.
80s?
Yeah. Well, and I say that because my daughter just got an American Girl doll that is from the 80s and she has Care Bear stuff. So
Do you see she just got one too on her birthday?
Which doll did you get?
I don't remember the name of it, but she named it Claire.
Oh, what a good name.
Pretty clever, right? She's made out like a bandit having the baby. So like we had a newborn January 15th. So people bring like a baby warming present. I don't know what it's called. And they'll bring her stuff too. So she'll just has so much. She has a whole tote of American Girl doll clothes, but they're like the Target has like a similar brand.
Yeah. Well, you got the best big sister award, right?
Did you get that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Do you want to head upstairs? I'll be up in a few. She always tries to pop down here and I was like, come down. I mean, it's not like we're having like massive sponsorships and stuff. It's like,
no, let her come say hi. One of my 12-year-olds wants to do the intro to the Smoking Pot Moms podcast.
Let him.
I think I ran it by, when we were on with Marco and Bree last night, I ran it by them and Claire was all for it. He's like, Mom, can I get on there and be like, 420, what you smoking? It's like, whatever you want.
That would be awesome. Yeah, Claire will come down here because I have my podcast studio in my roughed in. So like it's just a framed in bathroom that we don't have it's plumbed, but like there's nothing. So I just have a table set up in there I threw a flag on the wall. So this is my little studio. But she'll come down here when she plays in the basement because there's a playroom down here and just like sit at the chair and pretend she's podcasting.
That's adorable.
She has this little like leapfrog laptop thing. I mean, it's just like, and I'll be like, what are you doing? And she's like sitting there and she's like, podcasting.
Did she put headphones on? And no,
I don't wear headphones. So she just sees how I do it.
True. Yeah.
It's crazy what kids pick up on. Like I have to be so careful and stuff I say now. Before it was like, say whatever, but now she'll like repeat stuff. But she learned pretty quickly not to repeat stuff Dad or her papa say.
Yeah.
Her aunt was the same way. I have a 9-year-old sister-in-law, and she learned really quickly the same idea.
Yeah.
They're like little adults.
Yes, I know. Braxton knows too. Like, I would definitely say I cuss around him more than I did my other kids when they were younger, but he'll be like, don't say that.
That's exactly. Claire be like, Mom, is that a bad word?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't say it.
Yeah.
Well, I think with each kid, you probably get a little more lenient. There's a meme that it's like my wife's top 5 favorite meme. And it's like, Jesus, Mom, or something along those lines. You let the new whatever sister smoke meth on the porch. Like goes downhill. Mine went the other way though, because my brother was 8 years older than me. I could never have a BB gun because he snuck out of the house, went to his buddy's house, and they were shooting each other on a lawnmower.
Oh.
Yeah, I couldn't ride with anybody because all of his friends were idiots. So he made it tougher on me, but it was probably better for how I hopefully turned out. Yeah,
I'm the oldest, and I definitely got the shit end of the deal there. My brother had stuff that I didn't have.
Yeah, he would like to say he did, but I think I got the shaft. I feel like they were a little more lenient with him, but they were also like 22 years old for him and 30 for me. So they're probably maturing in the parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One thing I did want to ask you. So yesterday was the start of Women's History Month, talking about 90s TV shows. What would you say was like the most influential women's TV show?
women's TV show. So there's like an actual answer to this. This isn't like my most
No,
influential.
this is just like, can you think back to any really strong women-led TV shows in the 90s?
Would it have to be Roseanne?
Well,
I mean, she's a strong woman.
she's something.
I'm sure there's better ones that are like a little more inspirational and stuff. I mean, my favorite female character, but this is me being a young boy, and was the Pink Power Ranger, and
That was pretty like badass for girls,
right? And then Kelly from Saved by the Bell. But
yeah, I was gonna say Sex in the City, if that makes you like. No, there's not a right answer. Just a show that stands out to you.
that was the 90s. Holy crap!
It started in the late 90s. I definitely
counts.
didn't watch it then, but
Is that? Did you get into it? Like, were you one of those people that were like huge into Sex in the City?
I have all the DVDs.
The Golden Girls ran from 85 to 92. I thought that was like a show from the 70s.
I didn't know it went into the 90s, but Golden Girls was, I mean, Betty White.
Yeah, she's like 99 years old now.
Yeah.
Older than sliced bread, like literally.
She's the GOAT.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
That'll be a terrible day when she dies. Hopefully she doesn't for like another 10 years. She's like 110.
She's going to live forever. She's going to be like the queen.
Lake Placid. I don't know that one.
Oh, was that the alligator movie? The giant crocodile.
I hope so.
Yeah. Did you ever see? You didn't see that, did you, Jems?
No. I'm trying. I need to just close this private chat because I'm getting distracted by it. Because Betty White is in that. Our producer cannot put thoughts together, so he's just string texting.
I think I watched that movie once.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. It's kind of like was it Anaconda? Was that big snake movie, right?
Yeah.
I
haven't seen that either.
That's got John Voight, is that his name? And J-Lo, I think, is in it.
Nice.
Is it John Voight, Angelina Jolie's dad?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I know stuff like that. I just haven't seen. Like, I'm trying to think what John Voight has been in. I think he was. There's two shows, or at least one show, important show we didn't mention that we'll catch shit for. Seinfeld was a huge show. It was one of the biggest sitcoms ever. I didn't like it when I was younger when it was on, but my dad would watch reruns like when I was in high school or even into college when I was back home. Seinfeld's hilarious.
It is really funny.
I think you have to be a little older to get some of it, but it's so good.
Because I hated it as a kid. My parents, my stepdad would watch it. He used to record all the episodes on a VHS. We had like all the Roseanne and all the Seinfeld and some home improvement shows. It was like a closet full of VHS tapes. So, but I hated Seinfeld back then because it's a very dry kind of humor, and I had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah, I hated it too, but
especially now as like a 30-something adult, I think I can really relate to it more.
Yeah, and I think a dry humor is like probably my favorite kind of humor, other than it's close up there with dirty humor.
Well, are you a big Office fan? Did I gather that?
Yeah, I've watched it like 3 times through.
Okay, and that's pretty kind of along the same lines of like a dry humor, isn't it?
Yeah, and the first time I tried to start watching it, I couldn't get through season 1. Season 1 I didn't think was very good.
I cannot watch The Office, but I do Parks and Rec.
So my wife and I watched The Office. I watched it once by myself and then I think twice with her. And I made her suffer through season 1.
Yeah.
And if you start at season 2, I don't know if you've tried that technique, you might like The Office.
Okay.
We tried to do Parks and Rec and made it like 2 episodes in, and we just couldn't get into it. And somebody said that it's kind of a similar thing. Like once you get through the first early episodes, then it gets really good.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that statement.
And they're in Indiana, aren't they?
They are in Pawnee. Is that a real place?
I don't think so. I assume wherever they are, it's like southern Indiana, but I don't know.
Okay. I know there's a Pawnee, Illinois. Maybe I made that up.
There's a Gurnee, Illinois. There's probably a Pawnee.
Gurnee is up north. I want to say Pawnee is like south of Springfield, but I could absolutely be making that up.
We can count it and not fact check it. It's fine. Gurney they have a huge mall. They have Gurney Mills. I don't know if it's a lighthouse mall or an indoor mall, but there's a big mall up there. I remember going like as a young boy.
Yeah, I think Gurney also has the Six Flags Great America is right around that area.
Yep, I believe it is. I think
Yes.
that's north of the city. But I guess one more show we haven't mentioned and it's been staring at us in the face this entire time is Dawson's Creek, but I never watched it. I don't know if you did.
You didn't?
Apparently.
Oh, I have another show too after Dawson's Creek.
Okay.
Let me forget. I did. It was like, I mean, I very impatiently waited every week for the next episode to come out. I think was it on Wednesdays?
I don't know. Was it on like the WB or something? Or
it was on the WB. Yeah. I was very thankful that we had Dish on Demand then, because I lived out in the country in the middle of nowhere and would not have gotten to see Dawson's Creek had we not had that.
That was a thing in the 90s, Dish on Demand?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I guess we had Dish Network. I don't know if it was like the on demand that I watched it or whatever, but
that was one I never watched. I don't know.
I feel like during the time that came out, I was junior high, so I just felt like I could relate to it a little bit more. Yeah.
What would you say that's your favorite show from the 90s?
That's probably my favorite show from the 90s. And it's one that I have not gone back and rewatched, and I need to find where I can watch it because I would absolutely rewatch it again.
Hey, Mr. Producer, can you find where Ashley can stream?
I feel like we're giving Tone a whole lot of work here.
If he wouldn't have been typing a bunch this episode, I wouldn't be putting more on him, but he seems to be pretty active.
True.
I think my favorite show would probably be The Simpsons. I think it helped make me who I am, how smart I am. I like to think I'm smart, but I don't know. The Simpsons was good for that.
Yeah. Thanks to
what was the other show you were thinking of?
South Park.
South Park. That was. I've watched a decent amount of South Park, and it's embarrassing to say I haven't watched as much as I should have.
I mean, I can't remember the last time that I watched it. It was there. Oh, Joey and Dawson.
You find it?
Don't show what it. I don't know what he's saying. Oh, Netflix. It's on Netflix? Dawson's Creek is on Netflix? Clearly, I have not looked that hard.
I guess not. Like, at all, right?
Not at all.
Did you just say it out loud? Be like, I wonder where I can stream that. And then it went that far.
It's like so hard to find.
You couldn't even ask Alexa, hey, Alexa, how do I watch Dawson's Creek? You just kind of said it to your husband or something.
I
for your kids, your 3-year-old.
Yeah, they would know. South Park, I was saying I cannot remember the last time I watched it. I don't think I watched it past like 8th grade maybe, but I got real into it for a couple of years to where I had a friend that would call me every week and we would watch the episodes together.
I remember doing that with other shows. I can't even remember what shows, but watching them with a friend. I think Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was something I watched with friends, being a little dork.
Was that with the briefcases?
No, that's Deal or No Deal. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was with Regis.
Oh, when you got to call a friend.
Yeah. Yep. 50-50, phone a friend and ask the audience.
Yes. I remember that.
I guess the one last thing I have was, I never watched this, but Seventh Heaven.
I never got into that one either. That was a big one.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the dad is a pedophile and is in jail for a bunch of child pornography now, which is hilarious because he was a pastor in the show. It's not hilarious, but like he played a pastor, and I guess it's fitting though. I don't know if he was a Catholic pastor or not.
Well, it's kind of fitting for that and for Hollywood, right?
Right. Yeah. If the shoe fits.
Yeah.
What a way to be a stereotype.
Gosh, you suck.
What's his name? Stephen Collins, Reverend Eric Camden.
Yeah, I can picture him.
Jessica Biel was on there. I don't know if that's where she got her start or not, but she was there.
I forgot Jessica Biel was on that. That is kind of where she started. I kept thinking of the other big show that was kind of like that, like Party of Five with Nev Campbell.
I know it. Didn't watch it. Or I know of it. I didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it either.
Isn't like Beverly Hills 90210 and like Melrose Place and stuff? Aren't those?
I was a big Beverly Hills 90210 fan. That was another one of the shows that I watched with my mom, and I think I was in like second grade, and I should not have been watching that show, but I remember specifically going to a friend's house for a sleepover, and I had a Jason Priestley nightgown. Isn't that what every 7-year-old wants?
Did he die? No, that's Luke Perry.
No, Luke Perry did.
Jason Priestley got in like a bad car accident racing cars, though, I think.
Oh, did he?
I could have just made that up, but I think so.
That's true.
Is 90210 the one? Is that the one with like Tori Spelling and stuff?
Yes. Tori Spelling, Ian Ziering. Is that how you Sharknado?
I've watched bits and pieces because my father-in-law watches that stuff. But
yeah, I only know
like Sharknado 8 now.
It's ridiculous. It's a bit ridiculous. Who else was in? Luke Perry, Brian Austin Green.
He was just on, I think, the last season of The Masked Singer. My wife and I watched that, and he was.
Oh my gosh. What's he look like now? I'll have to look that one up.
A white dude? I don't know. Yeah. I think he had something else coming up that he was plugging when he was on there.
I will say, looking back on the 90s shows that I watched growing up and, seeing these people as young faces and watching them grow old is kind of a weird thing, because then it kind of puts me into place like, oh, I'm a little old now.
Right. Like definitely thinking like, oh, The Lion King came out in like 1994. And then I'm like, oh shit, that was 27 years ago.
Yeah. I remember seeing that in the movie theaters.
I think that was the very first movie I ever saw in the movie theaters.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yes. But is there anything else you have?
I don't really think so. I think we touched on most of the things that I wrote down.
So before I announce who the next guests are, these are the notes I made. I meant to do more research, and then I just got distracted. I started watching the Comedy Store documentary at work. But so my notes, I'll hold them up to the screen. It says 90s. Where am I going? And Full House. Those are my notes.
Well, I guess that answers what you think of when you think of 90s TV shows.
Yeah, and it works out well because I gave Fleg some shit for his episode about like I was just fact checking things, and Tanner the same way. So like I'm sure I've said stuff on here that they'll be like, no, idiot, this is the truth. Yeah. But that's the fun part about this. Like we kind of learn as we go.
So I feel like a bit of an overachiever. If you can see, I have front and back, which kind of seems like a lot, but I promise you that was like 10 minutes worth of looking at things today.
That was what I planned on doing. I was like, we're gonna do this right. But I feel like it just flowed pretty smooth where it worked out that I didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
So next week for season episode 5 of Whose Show Is It Anyways, from the Smoking Pot Moms, we have Claire. So it's nice to get both of you guys back to back. It's nice that we haven't had like, I know the Anomalies did like the first 3, but it was like different ones each time. So it was nice. Like if me and Tone got picked, it's just an episode of our show. I mean, we would do it obviously, but like, or if you and Claire get picked, then but still it's neat because you're forced to talk about a topic, but it's nice that we're having a mix.
Yes. And
then making his second appearance on the show is the Vanilla Gorilla, Tanner.
Oh.
So that should be a really good episode.
I think it will. And they actually kind of know each other anyway. So
yeah, not the first time we talked was when we got picked. So, but
I think a quiet person.
Am I a quiet person?
Yeah.
Not anymore. Like I think in school I was, like high school and stuff, but like now I don't. I guess I don't care who I talk to nowadays. I don't know.
Okay.
Do I seem like a quiet person?
Maybe from the very first time that we all Zoomed, I thought you were a little bit more quiet. But I can be really quiet or I can be really loud.
Yeah, I guess I can probably be by with that. I'm trying to think of that first night we all Zoomed. I got home late. I think I had class that night, so I was probably just tired. Yeah. And I guess the topic for Claire and Tanner is popular foods, which is great because Tanner's on a diet, so he's probably going to be super hungry and he'll be able to rattle off all sorts of food.
A lot of vegan stuff.
Yeah. But I think that's everything I got.
All right.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Maybe we'll do it again sometime. It's not up to us though. So,
all right. How do we sign off from this thing?
I don't know. Thanks, guys. Come back next week for Tanner and Claire and Popular Foods.
See ya.